Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Water Rising. And this used to be Magical Moments. If you heard our episode last week, I went into all the changes and new upgrades and decisions that we have been making over here at Awakened, Embodied, Empowered. So check that episode out. There's a link in the show notes too, if you want to catch up on all we've been doing. So here we are inside of Water Rising, and the topic that wants to come through today, the teaching, is about the art of getting it wrong. And if you're anything like I used to be, wow, was that a fiery place to be? Getting something wrong was as if I might die. It was a direct line into like that fiery feeling inside your body. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Where it just like rushes up and engulfs all of you. And then you're like, oh, so this place, right? This place of discomfort, was very, very familiar to me. And it definitely had levels, but not that much difference between a very small mistake and a very big mistake. It was almost as if like the fire it didn't really know how to categorize the level of making a mistake or getting it wrong that I was inside of. It just had this either like kind of big or extra big feeling. And, on this journey of uncovering that, right? Because for me, every sensation is an opportunity to understand something deeper about myself. And so as I dove in and I explored, what I can see, right, is we're inside this incredible human wound and also woman wound of we are not allowed to get it wrong because it is life-threatening. And I think that as we move through this, right, as we learn how to interact with this part of us that is so terrified of getting it wrong, it's really important to talk about the culture that we live in, that we are praised when we get things right. And then most often we are punished in some version when we get things wrong. So we're not just looking at our own interpretation. We're also being pressed on by a societal belief about needing to be perfect. And I think this is true for men and women, yet I know that it is incredibly potent and part of the architecture that as a woman, we have been trained, right? The conditioning that we are put inside, that we have to be better than everybody else and we can never get anything wrong because we are like, the image I see is like we're scrambling to just even keep our head above water, let alone trying to get to the top of the pile that is trying to bury us. And as we start to take this apart, right, we recognize how deep the roots of this go, that it's not just your own things that happened to you as a child or the way that your parents or your teachers, needed you to be a good girl or a good boy and you were chastised when you didn't get it right or you didn't, know what you were supposed to do. You upset people. One of the things I heard a lot was don't be difficult. And this meant that I wasn't getting it right, that I had upset or disappointed somebody. And so there is an art. There is a practice of totally messing it up, totally getting it wrong, in devotion to letting this part of you recognize that you can mess up and still live, that your entire world will not fall apart, that somebody is not going to come and haul you off because you forgot something, right? Or because you ended up messing up at a meeting or getting a report wrong or saying something that, oh my gosh, God forbid, not everybody understood or appreciated. So when we play in this place, one of the things that really, really helped me was working with my nervous system in this place, right? Because I think it's like the sensation for me is this rushes up inside you like, oh no, I messed up. There's a nervous system response as well that is going on, right? Because our nervous system is tracking for danger. And all of a sudden our thoughts and emotions are signaling to our nervous system that there is a wildly terrifying danger that has just arrived in the room. And our nervous system is like, oh gosh, I got to keep us alive. I've got to help out. And yet, really, it's the perceived threat that is here. And so we get really out of balance. So one of the things I did, one of the practices that was so profound actually for me in this place was that I made mistakes on purpose. And I started really small. Like one of my favorite ones was I got up in the morning, I still had my pajamas on, and I got in the shower and I turned the shower on and got all wet in my pajamas. And I stood there in the shower and go to myself, oh, look, you made a mistake. You forgot to take off your pajamas. Oh no. And I get it. It's hokey. I get it. It's, sounds kind of cheesy and like, what? But there is this incredible thing that happened where my nervous system saw me make a mistake, saw me laugh about it, saw the ridiculousness of what the story or the conditioning that I had been sitting inside of, and it adjusted. And then, another time I went to make eggs or pancakes maybe, and I cracked the eggs on the floor instead of in the bowl. Fortunately, my dog licked them up, so I didn't have a big mess to clean up, but it was like, oh no, I made a mistake. I missed the bowl. I cracked the eggs on the floor instead of the bowl. What am I doing? Again, so hokey and ridiculous. Yet there is some magic that started to happen in my system. And then as I practiced these smaller, ways to engage with my nervous system, then I started to take on bigger items and bigger tasks. And one of the memories I remember was I had gotten overwhelmed with something and I had my kids and I went and I hid in my closet because I just needed to be away, right? Like I just had to get out of the situation and calm my nervous system because coherence inside of that moment with my kids. So I just removed myself and I was hiding in my closet. And I'm sure you moms know what I'm talking about. Dads too, right? But anyway, here I am hiding in my closet and my kids come and they knock on the door and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this yet inside my internal dialogue. And so anyway, as I sit there, I feel this, my nervous system still reacting. But I hear this other choice formulating in the background. And the first choice that my nervous system wanted was to perpetuate the overstimulation that I was inside of, right? Like I was stuck in that story and in that pattern that I couldn't be wrong and that I had to hide and stay away and it was everybody else's fault and all the things that go with that, right? But this other choice from the nervous system that had practiced making mistakes and practiced being ridiculous and like laughing in harder situations started to formulate an idea. And this idea, I could hear it and it was saying, run out of the closet and chase them like you're a monster. Pretend you're a monster. And kids, right? I mean, my kids are young. They love that kind of stuff. But then I had these two choices fighting inside of my brain because part of me, right, the old me, the part that's still connected to that dysfunctional working of the nervous system, it wanted to stay super committed to the story that I had created about why I needed to be hiding in the closet. But then this newer, fresher, more integrated part of me was bringing some curiosity and joy into my life. Like it was trying to change the very fabric of the moment. And I can tell you, as I sat there, it felt like a tanker turning in the ocean. Like if you can imagine like a big giant tanker ship slowing down to take a giant turn, this is what the internal part of me felt like screeching and as I went from focusing on the part that wanted to stay in the closet to the part that wanted to run out and play with my children. And it took some deep breaths and it took a really concentrated effort. And yet I suddenly grabbed that new idea. My nervous system sort of recalibrated in the moment. And I jumped up and ran out of that closet like, "Rah, I'm a monster and I'm going to get you." I think I was the tickle monster maybe. And those kids started laughing and screaming and running down the hallway and mommy was chasing them. And all of a sudden I changed the entire trajectory and reality that we were existing in. So this is what can happen, right? When we actively work with allowing ourselves to get it totally wrong, to make mistakes on purpose, we start to retrain our nervous system because we are taking our consciousness and our intention and we are placing it on a part of us that is caught in the shadow. It's caught in a program. It's caught in a pattern. And then we are literally changing and shifting that pattern and taking that energy out, that charge from that place. And we are moving it and recreating a new path forward, a new neural net that now says, when I make a mistake, I can make it fun. And I can't tell you, 4 years ago, sitting here making these videos, I would have been on fire, wondering what are people thinking? Do I look okay? Am I saying the right thing? I would want to edit the whole thing to make sure that I'm saying everything correctly. And now with this ability to really be self-referenced and have a nervous system that isn't constantly being ping-ponged around everywhere, I can sit here and really not have too much concern about those things, right? I don't really edit these videos unless there's some giant mistake, but I say the wrong thing. I trip over my words. I pause, right? Like now, what am I saying? And inside of all of this, right, it just releases the grip on perfectionism. It says that I don't have to get it right. I just have to get it the way that it's correct for me. And I get to love myself inside the process. I get to have a relationship with my nervous system that supports me, that nourishes me, that allows me to live into my purpose and be authentically me, no matter what anybody else thinks about who I am or what I do. So this beautiful art, right, of getting it wrong really gives you the information and the insight into your own inner workings and the way that your nervous system is functioning. And it's worth mentioning, right? We have a physical nervous system that is part of our physical body, but everything is informed by the spiritual, and it comes down through the hierarchy to make it here into the physical, right? So our nervous system has an energetic component. It has a spiritual component. It has a conscious component. And all of these are layered into our physical. So when your nervous system is activated, it's coming from some problem that is lodged in one of these layers. It is not just a physical sensation. So when you start to play in this way, what you're doing is you're accessing energetic realms, you're accessing intention realms, spiritual realms, and you're moving energy in these different places. So this way, there can be a softening, right? A coming together, a settling of your nervous system in a different way. So I invite you, go make some silly mistakes. Give yourself the ability to sit inside of a simple, silly, ridiculous mistake and look for the magic that happens. Let your system and all your cells soak in that it can be really fun and ridiculous to make mistakes, and see how that changes your outward world and your outward expression, and start to really have this relationship with your nervous system that can give you a much deeper perspective on what is happening inside yourself. So thanks for being here. Please like, subscribe to the video. There's links in the show notes to all of our new offerings. If you want more of these teachings, Water Rising is now over on Substack, and we have these episodes that are ones that are out on the podcast every Friday, but we also have a ton of exclusive content that if you subscribe to our Substack, you can access all that exclusive content, all those teachings, all those transmissions that are just coming in. There's some magical information and teaching that is arriving into that space. So I'd love to see you over there on Substack. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.